Snezhnaya is coming out on August 12th. And it feels crazy to say that because for 6 years we've been waiting for this. Oh, and more traveler skins. And for 6 years we've known that Tsaritsa was collecting the Gnosis for some reason. But for the longest time, that reason was hidden behind a lot of suspiciously calm archons. As it stands right now, Snezhnaya has already obtained 6 of the 7 Gnosis. The only one still missing is the Pyro Gnosis. And what makes this so interesting is that most of them were not taken through brute force. They were basically handed over. Venti lost his Gnosis to La Senora, but he revealed he was holding back because protecting Mondstadt was more important than the Gnosis. Zhongli made a contract with La Senora and gave his Gnosis away willingly. Yaimiko traded A's Gnosis to save the Traveler. Nahida handed over both the Electro and Dendro Gnosis to Dottore of all people in exchange for the erasure of his segments and very important lore. And now the devs are teasing that the Archons giving away their Gnosis to the Tsaritsa may have secretly been the better choice for Teyvat. And Snezhnaya's story will finally reveal why. But what if I told you we may already know why the Tsaritsa wants to collect every Gnosis? Today I want to talk about the recent dev livestream and why the Tsaritsa's entire plan may be less about conquering Teyvat and more about recovering something that was taken from her. Or maybe someone. A dead lover, perhaps? Snezhnaya is one of the 7 nations of Teyvat, and it is the nation that worships the cryo-archon, the Tsaritsa. It is also the home of the Fatui, the organization that has caused problems in almost every region we've visited. For years, Snezhnaya has been portrayed as cold, powerful, and threatening. The Fatui are everywhere, and their agents interfere in other nations. Their harbingers manipulate politics, conduct experiments, and take whatever they need for the Tsaritsa's mission and their own personal gains. So from our point of view, Snezhnaya has always felt like enemy territory. It's a land of winter storms. Nadia says the blizzards can last for a month straight. Child says people can freeze to death if they stop moving outside. At night, the sky can be lit by auroras, which makes the nation sound beautiful but also extremely harsh. It's definitely not the kind of place where survival is easy. Dragonspine 5.0. But the more we learn, the more complicated that image becomes. Snezhnaya isn't just some evil nation. It is a nation preparing for a large-scale war against Celestia and Fate. And the Tsaritsa has spent years sending her strongest followers across Teyvat to collect the Archon's Gnosis.
We interrupt this lore spiral to bring you news from today's sponsor.
Today's video is sponsored by Summoner's War Sky Arena. Summoner's War is a classic turn-based collectible RPG where you build teams of monsters, experiment with strategy, and battle across PvE and real-time PvP modes in the Sky Arena. It's one of those games that's easy to jump into and involves learning team building, monster synergies, and how to optimize your account over time. And right now is actually one of the best times to start because Summoner's War is celebrating its 12th anniversary with a huge lineup of in-game events. The biggest highlight is a special event where you can select and summon a default 5-star fire, water, or wind monster of your choice. And it comes max skilled, 6-star, level 40, and awakened, which is kind of insane. And on top of that, there's a 12th anniversary festival shop where you can collect anniversary coins and exchange them for rewards like 12-year legendary scrolls, special scrolls, a mermaid transmog, and more. There's also an event that gives out 12-year legendary scrolls and 12-year light and darkness scrolls through missions, plus extra missions for new and returning players with more scrolls, Devilmons, and other rewards. Use the link in the description and pin comment down below to download and play today. Thank you so much Summoners War Sky Arena for sponsoring today's video. The dev livestream frames Snezhnaya as a nation standing at the front of the struggle against fate itself. Among the 7 nations, it may be the most proactive and the most determined to fight against the Heavenly Principles. Because of this, they've pulled a lot of resources into their technology. Compared to most of Teyvat, Snezhnaya is extremely advanced, especially in weaponry. The Fatui use guns, cannons, elemental suits, mechanical weapons, and large industrial facilities. Alice has seen massive factories there. Dottore built an automated factory in Liyue for Ruin Guard research. Nodcry alone has already shown us how far Snezhnayan technology and industry can go. A Gnosis is an item used by the 7 Archons to directly resonate with Celestia. It's proof of an Archon's status as one of the 7, and it seems to greatly enhance an Archon's abilities, even though the Archons still have power without it. For a long time, that was basically how we understood the Gnosis. But we learned something really important from Skirk. They were created from the remains of the third descender. A descender is someone who can transcend Teyvat's laws and influence its fate. Usually, that means a very select few outlanders from outer space, someone who doesn't fully belong to Teyvat's system. Right now, the major descenders we know about are the Heavenly Principles as the first descender, the second descender who is heavily implied to be the Dragon King Nibelung, the third descender, and the Traveler as the fourth descender. And according to the lore we now have from Hymns of the Far North, the third descender is Satalainen. In your free time, definitely read this book. It has so much deep lore. If not, I'll just make a full video about all its volumes. Satalainen is described as cheerful, fair, kind-hearted, and noble-born. He traveled through the forsaken Isle of Hisi Island and the dark lands of Puyola to court the daughter of Pakaisuko, a maiden of peerless beauty. Pakaisuko agreed to let Satalainen marry his daughter, but only on one condition. Satalainen had to open the gates of Puyola for him. Satalainen knew this would bring punishment from the Heavenly Principles, but he did it anyway, because if he refused, Pakaisuko would send his own daughter to open the gates instead. So Satalainen chose to take the punishment in her place. And after he entered Puyola, he was killed by the Heavenly Principles. Then the Heavenly Principles collaborated with one who came after, probably Nibelung the second descender, to split his corpse into 7 pieces. Those pieces became the 7 Gnoses. So the Gnoses are pieces of a dead descender's body. They are relics created from someone who was killed for defying the Heavenly Principles. And if Satalainen is connected to the Tsaritsa story, then the Tsaritsa may not be collecting the Gnosis simply because she wants power to defy Celestia. She might be collecting the pieces of someone she lost. This is where the theory gets really interesting. We've talked about this in previous videos, but with Snezhnaya getting closer, it's worth looking at again. There are several parallels between Satalainen and Ajax, the hero from Snezhnayan legend, whom Child was probably named after. In Snezhnayan legend, Ajax had a lover named Snegorochka, the Snow Maiden. And in Hymns of the Far North, Satalainen travels to court the daughter of Pakaisuko. The name Pakaisuko comes from a Finnish figure connected to Father Frost. In Eastern Slavic tradition, Father Frost is also the grandfather of Snegorochka. So the daughter of Pakaisuko in the Hymns of the Far North parallels Snegorochka, the Snow Maiden, in Ajax's story. And if we take that a step further, Pakaisuko may be connected to the Beletsar, the first Cryo-Archon and leader of the Snowland Fae. So the possible interpretation looks like this. Pakaisuko may be the first Cryo-Archon. His daughter may be Snegorochka, the Snow Maiden. Satalainen is the third descender and possibly the same figure as the legendary Ajax. And if the Tsaritsa is connected to or is Snegorochka, then Satalainen may have been her lover. The god of love may be fighting the system that killed the person she loved and turned his remains into tools of divine rule. She's essentially recovering something that never should have belonged to the Archons in the first place. From her point of view, the 7 nations may have been carrying pieces of Satalainen for thousands of years, while Celestia used those pieces to crown the Archons and maintain its order. However, it's not confirmed that the Tsaritsa is literally Snegorochka, the lover of the third descender. And it's not confirmed that collecting the Gnosis will resurrect him, but the possibility is certainly there. These are just theories. But this might explain why the Archons may have been willing to let the Gnosis go. If the Gnosis are made from the body of the third descender, then like Skirk says, they're probably cursed. They are physical proof that the current world order was built on something actually horrifying. The Archons might not know all the details, but several of them clearly know way more than they say. Maybe the Archons are letting the Tsaritsa continue because they understand that the Gnosis are part of a system that is fundamentally flawed. If the devs are saying that Archons giving up their Gnosis may turn out to be the better choice for Teyvat, then the implication is probably that the Tsaritsa's plan is dangerous, but necessary. And the Tsaritsa may be trying to force the one confrontation everyone else has been avoiding. Because think of it this way, if one Archon openly rebels against Celestia alone, their nation could pay the price. We've already seen what happens when the Heavenly Principles decides a civilization has gone too far. Case in point, Conria. So maybe the other Archons can't openly stand against Celestia even if they know something is wrong. But shout out to Focalor though. She honestly threw up the biggest middle finger to Celestia, and we'll never forget that queen. By gathering all the 7 Gnosis, the Tsaritsa becomes the only one leading the responsibility for the rebellion. The other Archons can step away from Celestia's system without directly dragging their nation into war. And that might be why one by one they let her have the Gnosis. And Moika might have to come to the same conclusion as well. But even if, let's say, Snezhnaya Snezhnaya were to take all the blame, I think this would inevitably plunge the whole world into war. But there are still things we don't know. Are the Gnosis necessary tools to maintain Celestia's rule? Can the Tsaritsa even use them to rewrite fate? Even though they're made from a descender, we still don't know the extent of their powers combined. So the Tsaritsa may be collecting the 7 Gnosis to resurrect Satalainen, the 3rd descender, which would be pretty cool considering her name is Anastasia. The name Anastasia means resurrection or rebirth. But there's one major problem with this theory. The timeline can get a little messy. If Satalainen is the 3rd descender and his body became the Gnosis, then his death likely happened a very long time ago, before the current Archon system fully existed as we know it, and likely before the Archon War. This means his death took place thousands of years ago. So I'm not sure it makes sense with what we know about the Tsaritsa changing after the Cataclysm 500 years ago. If Satalainen died thousands of years ago, how could his death be the direct reason the Tsaritsa became the cold, rebellious Archon we know today? There are a few possible theories to consider. The first possibility is that the Tsaritsa is Snezhnaya herself, meaning she is the lover of the 3rd descender, and something during the Cataclysm caused her to change. Maybe the Cataclysm was the final breaking point. The second possibility is that the Tsaritsa is a successor to Snezhnaya. She may not be the original Snow Maiden, but she may have inherited Snezhnya's role, power, title, or grief. Divine beings are not always simple. Their identities can be inherited, split, erased, or reborn. So the Tsaritsa may be the one carrying Snezhnya's unresolved tragedy, but she's not the original woman from the Snezhnayan legends. The third possibility is that the Tsaritsa is a daughter or descendant of Snezhnaya and Satalainen. This would help explain the timeline discrepancy. But this theory has its own potential problem, because the hymns suggest that Satalainen died before the marriage could happen, and the daughter of Pakaisuko would never again be wed, unless they had her out of wedlock. But even if one of these theories is true, even if the Tsaritsa's entire rebellion began from love, that doesn't necessarily make her or the Fatui innocent. Even though we've met some very lovable Fatui members from the Chasm and the Harbingers, again, this doesn't erase what the organization has done as a whole. The Fatui have hurt people. The Tore alone is a walking list of reasons not to trust Snezhnaya. The Harbingers are dangerous, and many of them have treated innocent people as tools. But the point is that Snezhnaya's quote-unquote evil isn't simple. With that being said, I really hope Snezhnaya doesn't welcome us right away. I don't want to walk into Snezhnaya and instantly be treated like a hero. I actually want the traveler to feel like an outsider. Let us sneak around a bit, maybe even make it illegal to use Diluc in Snezhnaya. Even though we've met Fatui characters we love, Snezhnaya should still feel dangerous. We should have to earn trust there. The Tsaritsa shouldn't immediately like the traveler, and the traveler shouldn't immediately trust her. That tension would make her character arc so much more interesting in my opinion. Because the traveler and the Tsaritsa may actually mirror each other more than either of them expect. The traveler is searching for their sibling, the Tsaritsa may be searching for the remains of someone she lost. The traveler wants answers about this world, the Tsaritsa may already know enough of those answers to hate the world's current order. The traveler keeps being pulled into nations and saving them from trouble, and the Tsaritsa may be trying to force all of Teyvat into one final confrontation with Celestia. And the stage for all of this to happen is Snezhnaya. We might also see Snezhnaya introduce its own unique regional power, similar to Primordial Water in Fontaine, Phlogiston in Natlan, and Kuvaki in Nodcry. Since this is the Cryo Nation, I wouldn't be surprised if we see something like Primordial Ice, or some ancient form of cryo connected to preservation, memory, sealing, or stasis like the livestream indicated. The dev livestream made it clear that Snezhnaya is not just another region. This is where years of buildup of lore thread upon lore thread will finally come together. What did you think of the Snezhnaya livestream, and what are you most excited for? If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video. I'm your leafy lore keeper Minsleif, and I read the Genshin Impact lore so that you don't have to.